FPS. Oh my
Yep.
god.
Oh. Yeah.
So we've got another person who likes anime too in the community, and I want to welcome you, and I just don't want you to let anything the blue guy says upset you.
This is why I'm the king, because they
He's
call me the
he's
blue
just
guy. They have no
delusional.
respect. No, anime guy, listen. Anime, listen.
Oh, don't let him
Anime,
get in your space.
listen, anime.
Oh,
We love to have you here. Look, I give you a gift. Look at me. I give you this gift. This is for you.
oh,
This
thanks. Oh, you have
I have what? What do I have?
VR.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Hello. I can jump up and
hello,
down.
hello.
I can do
How
stuff.
Hello,
many
hello.
people play the Sansar?
Oh,
25 gazillion.
a million people, probably. But no, we don't
All right,
know.
I'm starting the stream, by the way.
We don't know. If you want to meet people, you should come to the events like this one. Also, on Saturday is a big event where there's a lot of people, and Saturday is 11 o'clock. Where are you from?
Russia.
Ah, Russia. Okay, so this is similar time zones like I'm in Germany. So,
Huh?
uh, if you look at the events list, you can see it, of course, in your own time zone. And then you can see where people are, and then you can go there.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
O-
But you know what?
Okay.
Do you understand that this is not a game? Because there are games in it. They're really cool games, but you can also build your own worlds. You can, if you hit the create button, the orange
Can
button,
be a
you can make
it
your
can
own
be a
world.
work of literary art
Yeah.
or a work of self discovery.
Or it
You
could
know,
be the
anything's possible.
or it could be the Grey
Or
House
it could
from
be a
Marian
jail.
Petrosian. Jail. Okay, so shall we go here because should we go in the house once and for all? If people show up, they should know where it is.
It
No?
says event in here. Then
It
we'll hear them come in the door and we'll say, hey, come up the stairs, and we'll interrupt
yeah.
whoever's talking. It'll
So
work.
anime guy, today is open mic where people tell stories from their lives. If you're up for it. They just tell stories, you know?
Yeah. We have a theme, but you don't have to follow the theme.
Right. And the
Look,
theme
you've got the king by the head.
and the theme is anime.
He's
No, it's
got
not.
he's got the king by the hairs.
Hey, anime guy, do you know that you have socks? The socks you have on? Do you see the socks that you have? Hello?
Uh-oh, he left.
Oh no.
That's how
I
excited
think,
he was.
do you understand that you have dragster socks on? These are socks that are made in a sweatshop in Dragstonia.
A sweatshop. That's why they're free. If he actually paid people, the price would go up. You wouldn't want that.
No, you exactly. Why don't you thank me? Hello, anime guy. Anime guy, are you
Oh,
okay?
the things. Are you okay?
I hope you
No, I have funny face.
you have what? You have
Troubles with FPS.
ah, okay.
My
Well,
computer.
we have some friends from Russia that in it the there's a lot that depends on the internet speed. That's a big factor, unfortunately. So yeah. Oh,
Somebody just popped in.
oh, look at this guy. Who is this? Oh, this is
This
Jar
is
Jar Tips in
Jar Jar.
disguise. Yeah, good old Jar
Is
Jar
that a
Tips.
is that a sealess? What is that?
That actually I grabbed from the marketplace and I forgot who made it. It's free. Uh, it's very cool. I
That's very cool.
I don't. I have to look up. Look, anime guy, you want to follow us into the house? Maybe it gets better your performance. Come here. Just walk through the door. Try it. Yeah,
I
on
just
on my
say
laptop
have
I
to.
have very very low frame rates too. But it's good to be in a house again.
It's good that the stairs are farther back. I think they changed that.
Yeah, and by they you mean Rag.
Well, Reg is awesome, man.
Rag is the Rag is the stairs guy. He's not the doors guy though. The doors guy, the doors guy fell asleep on the last job. No, I'm no, he fell asleep and there was still two doors had to be
So I can stay at the mic all the time now.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm gonna sit here
Well, here we
nicely.
are at open mic.
Hmm.
Me and Drax and Jar Jar Tips is naked in the road on the street dancing.
He's not naked. He's an
Yeah.
alien, and that's his outfit. They wear
Oh,
stuff
okay.
like that.
All right. Whatever you say. I can smell a little denial in the room.
The Nile is a river in Egypt.
Well,
What is the theme today, Shyla? Why don't you introduce the theme?
why don't I introduce the theme? That's a good question. So the theme is, who would you thank if you could? Even if you've already done it, who's that person you would thank? So I had an English teacher. I think she taught me, hey, Jar Jar,
Oh
welcome.
my God! Okay,
Now
go
you
ahead.
all can judge for yourself.
Hmm.
But no, I had this English teacher. I think she taught me creative writing, and she was the first teacher who really commented on my writing in in its substance,
Hmm.
not just on spelling or punctuation. I remember I wrote this diary, and it was very long, and it was about an apocalyptic end to life,
Hmm.
and in the end, everybody dies. And she read it, and she gave me a grade. I don't remember what it was, but she said, "Look, it's easy to write about sad and bad stuff.
Hmm.
It's more of a challenge, to write the other stuff." And then I came to this realization later that it's not even the point to always write about happy stuff.
Hmm.
Like, and we've been reading Steinbeck at book club,
Hmm.
but just the complicated life where maybe things don't get horrible and maybe things don't get ecstatically great, but it's very real and substantive and relatable. And her name was Mrs. Furjanic. And one of the other things I remember about her is I was a doer. I wasn't busy being, I was busy doing.
Hmm.
And I remember I was trying to help her grade papers as I got into my senior year. And I was just doing too much. And I remember I literally almost had a nervous breakdown outside of her class. And she came outside and she just comforted me. And she said, "Look, you don't have to do everything." And I
Hmm.
didn't take the message at the time. This is one of those things that as I went through life, you know, and got wiser, for some reason her voice stayed in my head, and so that I could hear it again. And I don't remember exactly the things she said to me, but I remember that she challenged me. She challenged me to be a better person without diminishing my effort, you know?
Yeah.
And I would want her to know
So
she
in a
made
way,
a difference in my life.
hmm, this is really interesting that you picked a teacher because I was thinking about it while I was running my errands, and a few people came to mind, but the first one was a teacher. This is a wonderful thing. So for you, the main one of the main takeaways is here that you can encourage someone while kind of like a substantive critique is like the first time you were right? Is that kind of the thing?
Yeah, it was the first time somebody wrote, uh, something like, "This is very good, but remember, it's easier to write, sad these sad endings.
Mm,
It's harder to find." And I can't remember what she wrote, but what it left me with was not that I was required as a writer to have happy endings,
mm-hmm.
but that I was required as a writer to go deeper. That I wrote this piece that was very pragmatic about the end, and it was very kind of reportive, and this is what happened, and everybody was pretty objective, and that's not what the end would be. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There would be a huge emotional aspect to it, and I feel like she didn't challenge me to give things happy endings. She challenged me to give them complex endings,
There you go. See,
which
this
are
is,
more real to life.
yep, yep. And it's not just these are the types of teachers that don't make it easy on themselves either,
I
because
would agree with you. She always seemed very busy, and
well, there are teachers who phone it in. I mean, I mean, teaching is a tough gig, absolutely. But I don't blame teachers who phoning in is not a nice term. What I mean, they don't go out of their way to nourish students sometimes who need it or who have a potential. Mm,
I remember once I had another great teacher. I had a couple of great teachers at that school, and the other one was Dr. Elliott, and she gave us an assignment to write something that was satirical.
mhm,
And so I wrote this idea that instead of having prisons way out way, just use the roofs of tall buildings, too tall to jump off of,
mhm,
and have the prisons up there.
mhm.
And and so I wrote this piece, and a fairly lengthy piece, and then so she had read this other person's piece, and she said it didn't qualify as satirical because it was not possible. That satire, like one of the things about satire, is that in the reader's mind, it is in some way feasible. It might never happen,
Mhm.
but it could work. And so I wrote this piece about prisons on the roof, and she really liked it. And I remember this other student yelled out, "That's not possible." And she's like, "No." She said, "It would probably never happen, but you can envision it.
Mm, mhm.
You could see the possibility that it could have happened."
That's why we live through the death of satire right now, because things are happening that shouldn't be happening. What would your teacher
That's
say to
right.
that?
I don't
Ah,
know what Dr. Elliott would say to that, but she was a great literature teacher. In her class, I read The Scarlet Letter, I read
mm,
Grapes of Wrath,
mm.
just some of the really great classics, and we would really argue about them and really, like, was the letter there? Was the letter not there? You know. So what about you?
I think these chants. I was just gonna. I'm gonna let me step up to the mic. what is interesting, your story confirmed what I've always been. I think what's not a new special thought is how cool it is that we had teachers like that. But also, the sad part is that it is the 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 opportunity to be inspired by someone is in life so random. And I always think of my personal utopia where I want real equanimity, equality, where everybody has that same access to, actually not only access, but really, I mean, really gets that. Access often means it's the whole access to healthcare question. Yeah, it's accessible if you have enough dough, but it's not the same thing as actually having it. So this whole in today's world, when we talk about access, that's usually a euphemism for you got to have a lot of dough to have it. But anyway, I digress. The first person when you announced the theme that came to my mind was my teacher Herr Schwab in I believe, and I cannot would have to go back through the records if it was 6th grade or 7th grade, but I tend towards 7th grade, and we were talking about the Nazi regime, the rise of Hitler and his inner circle, Goebbels, Goering, and so sort of his henchman Himmler. Um, and it's well known that that Germany, by most scholars, it's pretty acknowledged that that Germany is doing a pretty good job, or has done, in terms of examining this very, very dark history in the public school system. I had this confirmed recently by a friend from Spain and Italy, who said, this what you guys are doing here is pretty phenomenal. We can still buy Mussolini T-shirts, or
Come
or
on.
or a Franco statue, bobblehead.
Oh, or the Confederate flag flying
Oh,
in the south.
exactly. So I don't want to, I'm not, uh, I don't want a medal. I didn't institute this program. It had to do with, frankly, the Allied forces who liberated Germany from the Nazi regime. Interestingly enough, the Americans at the time, they had some good ideas. But anyway, completely off attention. Herr Schwab was we were talking about that. I forgot what we read. I forgot what we read. We might have read actually Die Welle, The Wave, which is also made into a film. It's about from an American author who, it's a true story. In the 60s or 70s, there was an experiment done in a San Jose public school where people didn't understand how the Nazis came to power. And then this particular teacher said, okay, let's do an experiment. Half of you guys are these guys, and the other guys are these guys. And he basically uh, created a uh, created a power dynamic in the classroom where some people were the ruler, the fascist rulers, and the other one were the people who were persecuted under that fascist regime. And it was fascinating to see how this played out, and people really fell into their pre-assigned roles really quickly, really devolved. So I think we read that book, and then we read some historical accounts um, of the period. And here's why I want to thank him, because this was I remember, and I can envision it in front of my eyes right now. Although I don't know if it was 7th grade. See, this is so weird, Shyla, because I can see it in front of my eyes. I can see Herr Schwab. I can see the classroom, and we were discussing the fact that you know a lot of the top brass in the Hitler regime were affluent people. They came from top schools. They were schooled, right? They were not dummies. I mean, the
Right,
dummies were the
right.
SA. This was sort of the what do you say, the brains at people on the street beating up. You always need those people too. Uh,
Brains over brawn.
that's right. So they had that, but the inner circle, people like Himmler and such, they were intelligent, they knew how the world worked. They had interest in arts. They were musical. I think Himmler played the violin, that kind of stuff. And I asked Herr Schwab, and I can see myself as I'm telling you this story. I can see myself. But Herr Schwab, these people were so intelligent. Why were they so evil? And Herr Schwab said to me, you know, they, you will unfortunately have to learn that intelligence and moral behavior are not always going hand in hand. And that was really an incredibly profound statement. And I view this juncture as my beginning of critical thinking, Shyla. You see what I'm saying? Before that, it's
Yes.
similar to your story. It was all like, okay, this is sort of how the world works, and yeah, you take this for granted, or did people say this? Adults tell you this is like this, and you don't cross the road when it's red and stuff like that. And this was incredibly profound because I was so disturbed by the fact that there's someone who can appreciate classical music and then murder millions of people. That was incredibly disturbing. And so
Yeah.
Herr Schwab's statement was also not reassuring, right? It was certainly not like, oh shit, that explain it, but it opened the door to this critical thinking. And I want to thank Herr Schwab for really being an awesome teacher. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we're bringing up teachers. I think teachers are highly undervalued.
Yep. Absolutely.
We sit with them 5 or 6 hours a day as children, and they are teaching us in a way, I mean, this is the goal anyway, in a way that we become thinkers for ourselves. They're teaching us the tools, the letters, the words, the vocabulary, and everything. And then as we get to the later years, and this was a great thing. Uh, uh, and I don't remember who told me this, but before I graduated high school, one of my teachers said, "Don't ever believe everything that's in a book.
Wow.
In high school, you have to agree with the book in front of the teacher, but never assume that it's true."
That's cool. That's profound.
Oh, hi, Solus.
Hi,
Hello, hello,
Solus.
hello, hello,
Glad you
hello, hello.
came. It
Yeah.
was very profound. And he said the whole point of college is to think for yourself, to not just, you know, spit back out what you've taken in, but to really analyze. And I haven't stopped thinking yet. And somebody referred to me as a bit OCD in my life, but I always call myself anal retentive because OCD is so different. And if
That
that's what
is
I call
good.
myself.
That is
I'm anal
good.
retentive.
Oh, yeah.
uh, because OCD is so different. And I read a poem to some people this morning, but I'd like to read it again. It's called OCD. And let me see if I have it right here. It's by Neil Hilborn, and it's called OCD. And I was turned on to this by uh, a poet in Second Life named Jolie.
Oh, okay.
She reads it beautifully, but I'll read it. OCD. The first time I saw her, everything in my head went quiet. All the ticks, all the constantly refreshing images just disappeared. When you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you don't really get quiet moments. Even in bed, I'm thinking, did I lock the doors? Yes. Did I wash my hands? Yes. Did I lock the doors? Yes. Did I wash my hands? Yes. But when I saw her, The only thing I could think about was hairpin curve on her lips, or the eyelash on her cheek, the eyelash on her cheek, the eyelash on her cheek. I knew I had to talk to her. I asked her out 6 times in 30 seconds. She said yes after the third one, but none of them felt right, so I had to keep going. On our first date, I spent more time organizing my meal by color than I did eating it or fucking talking to her. But she loved it. She loved that I had to kiss her goodbye 16 times or 24 times if it was Wednesday. She loved that it took me forever to walk home because there are lots of cracks on our sidewalk. When we moved in together, she said she felt safe, like no one would ever rob us because I definitely locked the door 18 times. I'd watch her mouth when she talked, when she talked, when she talked, when she talked, when she talked. When she said she loved me, her mouth would curl up at the edges. At night, she'd lay in bed and watch me turn all the lights off and on and 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 off. She'd close her eyes and imagine that the days and nights were passing in front of her. Some mornings I'd start kissing her goodbye, but she'd just leave because I was just making her late for work. When I stopped in front of a crack in the sidewalk, she just kept walking. When she said she loved me, her mouth was a straight line. She told me that I was taking up too much of her time. Last week, she started sleeping at her mother's place. She told me that she shouldn't have let me get so attached to her, that this whole thing was a mistake, but how can it be a mistake that I don't have to wash my hands after I touch her? Love is not a mistake, and it's killing me that she can run away from this, and I just can't. I can't. I can't go out and find someone new because I always think of her. Usually, when I obsess over things, I see germs sneaking into my skin. I see myself crushed by an endless succession of cars, and she was the first beautiful thing I ever got stuck on. I want to wake up every morning thinking about the way she holds her steering wheel, how she turns shower knobs like she's opening a safe, how she blows out candles, 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 blows out. Now I just think about who else is kissing her. I can't breathe because he only kisses her once. He doesn't care if it's perfect. I want her back so bad. I leave the door unlocked. I leave the lights on. And that is OCD by Neil Hilborn.
That's awesome.
Wow, Shyla. You can, if you want to copy and paste, or if you tweet it later,
That's
we'll tweet it under this open mic moniker.
that's awesome.
Hi, FCAT,
Hey,
and
FCAT.
welcome, DG Murdoch.
Oh, DG's here too.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's here.
DG. Wow.
Yeah,
It's
this is
seen you guys
open
a
mic,
while.
and the theme today, we have to stick to themes because we're not about sticking to anything.
Oh, we got to stick to
Uh,
the theme.
no. If I could say thank you, who would you thank if you could? Or even who was it that you thanked that made a real difference in your life? So that's the theme today. But again, if you don't like the theme, you don't have to stick to it. You come up here to the mic and just share your heart out. That's it.
Who wants to go? Because
Anybody want to go?
Member.
You're
I
just
How-
an
speak for the
audience
audience.
member.
Okay, I'll
Okay, you
go.
can do that. Okay, Solus, come on up.
Okay.
okay. Wait, I'm sitting back down.
This is gonna sound crazy. Okay, besides thanking like the people in my life, like my mother, my father, so forth and so on, my husband and those people that are always there for me. That's a given. Um, the people that have made impacts in my life, I had one, my high school teacher in art, who pushed me to be a fashion designer because that's what I wanted, even though it wasn't in the curriculum. He made a curriculum work for me so that I could do pattern making. And by the time I got out of high school, I had an incredible portfolio that got me
Wow.
accepted into three of the major art schools. I mean, fashion art schools that had fashion programs in the U.S. So that I, Mr. Friedman, I always appreciate him.
Gordon Freeman?
Uh, hmm?
Gordon Freeman?
No, it was not Morgan Freeman. No.
No,
No,
no, Gordon. Gordon Freeman
no,
from Half-Life.
no, 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 but. And then, let's see, what else? Then I was my fifth grade teacher because I was really shy because some people don't know I'm deaf in one ear. And so it took me a long time to pronounce words properly or spell them properly because I don't hear certain sounds. And so I talked kind of funny up until fifth grade. I was in speech therapy through high school too, but um, she would get me writing poetry and reading it to the class. So that was,
Wow.
she really took an interest in me and she really helped me blossom. And the third person is Drax. And I'll
Oh
tell
my
you
God.
why.
Who is that guy?
Because I have, after getting the Parkinson's, have really, I'm mad at my body for getting sick, right? And I've kind of let myself go, and I have really, really negative body image of myself. Does that make sense? And so for him to come to me and ask me to be a part of the documentary and just share my story with people, it was scarier than hell. And I'm not kidding,
Mm.
I almost backed out. I don't know how many times because I did not want people to see me for who I really am. I wanted them to just think of who my avatar is, who my voice is, that type of thing. But Drax he's so amazing to work with, and every time he would come to my house to film and stuff, he makes you feel like $1 million. And because of doing that documentary and putting myself out there for people to see, I am really, I am starting to slowly, but love myself again. Not that I love myself, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm starting to accept myself, and I'm starting to work on myself to make myself better, and not, I'm not as angry at my body for getting sick. But I know it's going to take time to do.
Oh.
But because he put me out there and he allowed me to go out there, and he made me shine. At least I think that changed my life seriously. And I'm not
Oh.
just saying that because he's in the room. It seriously changed my life. The other thing that is starting to change my life is he also put me in touch with I can't say her name, Drax, the Russian woman.
Ksenia Ansky.
Yeah, who
Ksenia. I don't know
is,
how to pronounce her name either.
I can't say it, but who is
Oh
helping
God,
me
what a
with my
record.
writing because I have two manuscripts. But not only is she helping me with my writing, she's also a life coach. And right now, the what she's helping me with my life and trying to balance the social, because what I have to balance not only real life and the social virtual world, I have to balance an illness in between.
Mm.
So, so yeah, she's helping me, and it's going to be a long, hard, a very long, hard summer, but I'm determined to master it. So, anyways,
That's amazing. I
that's,
Nicholas,
love that.
this
And
is thank you. I mean, this
oh
is
well, thank
amazing, and
you.
I I mean, this is really something that I the inspiration that you are giving by having sort of had the courage to appear in this film. Th this is this wonderful cycle of actually um, giving back, because then what we hear, of course, from the film is that people feel proud of being associated with Second Life. I mean, we all know that a lot of people that we talk to, they have stopped talking about Second Life in their circle of friends and family or whatever because of some really negative stereotypes and because you
You can't
become
do that.
the
You
the
can't do that. Go ahead. Yeah.
the the spokesperson in a way you become the spokesperson for that and anyway, thank you, Solis. I just want to say for the record, the reason why I made you feel like $1 million, there's a very simple reason for that, because I was told that at your house is an ancient treasure chest underneath the floorboards, and there's
That's
like
where
a
you had to go
million.
to the end of the world,
Right.
end
And
of the
so
end to
this is
find
all
it.
some steam, this goddamn movie. And I came by and did an interview. Actually, I had people like looking under the floorboards with
Did you
infrared.
find it?
No, no, I think it was some sort of scam. Uh,
Shyla beat you to
You should
it.
have looked at the end of the rainbow.
yeah, yeah, I didn't
Aw,
look behind the rainbow. That's true.
yeah.
It's true. Hey, welcome Tiki. Welcome DGM or DG Murdoch, the third.
You already said that.
You
Yeah,
did, yeah.
Well, she said it
I did.
again.
Do you mind sitting down at all, please? If you're not,
Let me try.
because we want to keep this format. It's so cool. So if people tell stories, they can go up to the mic, and everybody's welcome. DG, I mean, you're welcome to go up to the mic and
Have a story.
hmm?
Okay, let me ask you. What if someone doesn't speak on the microphone but types?
Hi, Tiki.
That typing is totally
That's
fine.
fine. We'll
We've done
just
that in the
read what they
past.
type.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll read what you
Yeah.
type totally. Uh, I want to say something. Can I? Well, people can come, but as they're thinking about going up to the mic, Tiki, do you want to go? If not, then I would. I have one more thing. Oops, Jar Jar, why don't you sit back down here? What's up with this Jar Jar guy? He's a new guy. He's nervous.
The guy you were talking to earlier, he didn't leave until like 20 minutes ago.
What guy?
The guy you're talking about, excuse me, meditating.
Oh, that guy.
Enemy.
Yeah,
AU5, you mean?
yeah, he was on here a long time last night.
Yeah, yeah. No, we were in earlier. DJ and I, we were in there with Vasai, and we met a guy named AU5 from Canada. Cool guy. He is a musician, a well-known musician. Completely on accident, we met him.
Yeah, I knew who he was,
And
but I never talked to him before.
DJ knew who he was. I didn't know who he was, and he was very like all Canadians, They're like very, oh, I'm a musician. And you go like,
He
okay.
lives in Denver.
Oh, he does?
Yeah,
Oh, then he's just with that Canadian label. I thought because I wasn't sure if he lives in Canada. But anyway, DG,
I don't think he's Canadian.
no, no, he's not Canadian. He's American, but I thought he lived in Canada. But let's not.
Yeah,
We're here for open mic, and the
I know.
theme
That's what I'm
is
saying.
thanking people. And
Who would you most like to thank if you could, or maybe you got the opportunity to thank that person?
so if nobody grabs the mic, and you can type it in chat, and then we'll read it. Let me bridge this because I have someone to thank that I just thought of when Solos was speaking. I would like to thank this is a collective thank you to everyone who had the courage to speak to me from Second Life for these last almost 10 years of making these tiny documentaries, and of course the big one. I want to thank these wonderful people because I know how tough this is to put yourself out there. I'm an extrovert who was raised by an extrovert and an introvert. I'm married to an introvert. My son is an intro extrovert.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, an introvert is somebody who is more quiet and more private, and
Oh, okay.
an extrovert is like all like very outgoing,
Yeah.
very good at sort of small talk and very easy going in different situations. An introvert feels sometimes very awkward when they have to meet people who they've not met before and those kind of things. And A lot of people who have spoken to me over the years from Second Life are they would self-classify as introverts, but
I
they've
listen to the music club is live.
we're talking about open mic. If you would like to say something, DJ, you would have to go to the mic and wait your turn, please. This is the format of open mic. And just to wrap this up, this is extremely important because when you take the courage to speak up, and you don't have to. If you don't, I had a lot of people decline. I inquired a lot of people over the years, and they say I respectfully decline. I don't want to be seen on camera, and that's completely fine. We have that power to communicate through our avatars, and that's an enormous, wonderful thing. But when you take the plunge and when you decide to do that, like Solus did, what you are doing, you are giving inspiration, hope even to a lot of people. And these stories are completely underrepresented. Uh, they're not out there in the mainstream media or even independent media. So it's it's extremely this has changed my life. People like Solus have changed my life. Shyla, same thing. Shyla chose to be seen in the film. You guys changed my life, and even the people who have not. I don't know if I said this clearly. Even people who have decided not to be seen, but they use their voice or they use their story in text or whatever. They shared their story. This is actually my larger point. When people said, "Yeah, I don't want to be on camera, but I want to share my story and I'll type it up for you and you can read it or whatever." This is extremely important because these voices, they're not represented. I mean, there's a lot of voices that are not represented. It's not that Second Life is the center of the universe, but
It's not.
I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
So always think about that. Actually, think about when you're approached by anybody. Like if you have a marginalized story or somebody approaches you from the media or you want to go out there and um, if your story is not represented, then try to find someone who wants to tell it. Yeah,
Yeah.
advocacy journalism. That's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Anybody else got thank yous? Tiki?
Tiki, you can type in chat if you like.
Yeah.
It's also nice to be quiet and to just contemplate.
It is.
El Diablo's waiting for a friend.
Yeah, this could be the case, indeed. This could be the case, or it maybe it's not. I have no way to verify that, but what I can verify is that we're here at Open Mic at 114 Harvest, and it's wonderful to share these stories. And if you like to share your story, um, Tiki is thinking about. Tiki
Yeah,
says,
Tiki says, I'm trying so hard thinking about thanking someone. Maybe I'm not a grateful person. Now, how can that be, Tiki?
That is so not true.
"You're a grateful person." But you have good lines because last time I want to remind everybody when I asked Tiki, how did you tell me something about what was good in your week and was when something was bad, and Tiki said, well, the bad thing is I can't think of anything good.
That's funny.
Oh,
Tiki, now I have the distinct suspicion that this is that you are a very sophisticated satiric person here. Very good.
very
Very
sophisticated wabbit.
yeah. I mean, the thing is what Solus was saying. There are obvious things of people who stick with you through thick and thin, parents, spouses, and so on and so forth. Those things sometimes. We take that for granted too. Um, yeah,
Yeah, friends.
of course, anybody, a friend. I mean, I can think of a million stories here. My friend Krasi Kotev, who I don't interact anymore because he turned out to be a racist right winger. But at the time, I didn't know that, and he let me crash on his couch. I'm thanking him
Why
for
Wow.
wouldn't
that.
you still like if he doesn't do it around you?
Um,
And
oh, okay. So that's an interesting question. That's not the theme today, but it's an interesting question, and I have a response for it. But that could take 30 minutes, so I don't want to take anybody's time.
I
Why would
really
I
want
be
to thank
upset
you
if
for that,
somebody
Drex.
is an anti-Semite that I know and sending me anti-Semitic racist stuff? Why would I not upset about it if he does it in his own home? I don't know. Maybe because I reject those notions and I think that those types of thought processes are really toxic and are bad for society. I don't know.
you're right.
Maybe I think about society as a whole. Maybe that's my problem. I'm just not selfish enough, although I was diagnosed with mild narcissism when I was 17. Maybe,
Mild?
yeah. Are you setting me up for my joke response, Shyla? That was a long time ago. It matured. Something grew, and it was something grew, and it was not my belly. Actually, that too. Who knew that narcissism grows well on solid
And
soil?
dragons.
Yeah, yeah. I mean I thank my wife that she let me use her car, and then I crashed it, but I paid for it.
Oh dear.
Well, we weren't married at the time. She could have dumped me.
Oh,
She
she's
didn't.
still married. She's not official.
What?
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
Still married, although I crashed the car. I got the bike stolen. It's true. First the bike
Mm-hmm.
was stolen, and then I had to take her car. But yeah.
Are you sure you're still married?
Oh, maybe that's just in virtual reality.
He thinks denial is a river, if that helps. You know what I had the other day? I'm just going to put this out
I don't
there.
know,
It's not on
prawns
theme.
on a salad.
Pizza.
No, no. But it was something I was grateful for. When I was a little kid, there was one meal my mom could cook
Hmm.
that I would just run around the house so happy and gleefully because I knew I was getting this particular meal. And I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw it on the shelf. And, I thought, I want to have that feeling again, that glee. And she would heat it up on the stove. So it all came pre made. She just poured out of the can, heat it up on the stove, and then pour it into a bowl for us. And we would eat it with a
Shepherd.
fork or a spoon.
Wait,
You
wait, wait,
got
DG.
it.
What is it?
it was SpaghettiOs, right?
SpaghettiOs.
Oh my God.
Yes. Was it the
Yes,
same, Shiloh? Was it the same as
it
you
was the
remembered?
same as I remembered. I
And you know what,
just
Shyla?
loved it.
I think it was all it's probably been on that same shelf since your mother bought it. They just did you look at the
Oh my
expiration date?
gosh, that's funny. There
Oh
was
my
two
gosh.
things.
Well, what blows my mind is both of you out there, DG and Solus, like got it, like what I was thinking of.
It
But
was
yes,
just
Wonder what
that,
drugs
and
are
it
in there.
was growing up. It was SpaghettiOs, and then the other thing my mom would cook, it was a soup, and I forget what this. It was a something soup club, and it was these little hot dogs. It could have been like tomato soup and hot dogs, or no, it was bean soup and hot dogs
Oh, the little
inside the soup.
wieners, the mini
Yeah,
wieners.
yeah,
yeah.
and it was
Ah,
like it was so good, and you couldn't catch me eating that now, but
No, can I say something?
yeah.
I don't want to really, I don't want to disrespect your mothers, but do you understand that cooking and warming up are two different things? Oh, they can be at least. I mean, I looked it up in the dictionary just now, and the description sounds
Yeah.
different.
It's funny
You know,
because
I was the
my
kind of kid
oh,
who kept my mom on the run,
Yeah, yeah, of
you
course.
know, so I don't blame her for warming
yeah,
food up.
and
Oh,
same with mine.
absolutely.
My dad traveled, so he would be gone for weeks at a time, and so when and she had three kids, so she was like a single parent. So yeah, she would basically. We had a lot of TV dinners,
TV
a
dinner
lot.
by the pool. What's your
But yeah,
daddy
I don't blame her for doing
do?
that at all.
But I'll tell you this, my father bought the cereal in the house,
Ah, what
and
was
Oh.
what did he buy?
he based it on Consumer Reports study
Oh
of
God!
rats eating cereal. Well, he
Oh,
was
oh
German,
my
Drax, so
God!
you know this feeling.
Oh my God, on rats eating cereal. Oops.
We were allowed to eat Special K,
Hmm.
Cheerios,
Hmm.
or Life,
Not Wheaties?
not Wheaties.
Wow.
See, but
Once in a
Wheaties, I
while,
mean,
grape nuts.
generations of British people have bad teeth and bad skin, and they all ate Wheaties. Got to be something in them.
Ah.
Now we have lost our
That's
entire European following.
that's a wow. A gathering in a virtual world without a cultural stereotype is no gathering in a virtual world.
Anyway, our follower just left.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
DG.
our one follower.
Yeah, but they'll be back. They just went to get more friends.
Yeah,
There you
I mean,
Yeah,
right.
we'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one
go.
exactly.
I'm gonna pull three speed random thank yous out of my hat as they come to me randomly in my OCD thing. Anal retentive is much better, actually. I completely agree. I feel like that too. Number one, I'm thankful for my mom that we never had soda at the house. Never. Never,
Oh,
never,
wow.
never. Absolutely. Uh, I thank my dad for coming up with the awesome, awesome media coupon idea where as a teenager I had a certain almost like an allowance amount of TV watching, and I had to hand those in when I wanted to watch. And so this way, the media consumption, the passive consumption of media was restricted, and I had to budget it like my allowance. To this day, this I feel benefits me in being reliant on sort of self-reliant in sort of budgeting my passive versus active time. Um, the third thank you, I want to uh, I want to thank my friend Julian, who was such a stoner to and got absolutely nothing done to convince me.
Assange?
What? FCAT?
Julian, I thought of Assange.
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, well, that's the other Julian, my other Julian friend. No, I don't know him. Know him. Julian Mack is his name. Was his
Not the
name?
one going to jail.
I'm not sure. He might be in jail already. This other Julian. No, no, he probably isn't. No, no, but I don't know. This just totally random came to me that being exposed to Julian as a writing partner in a musical collaboration and seeing how what pot does to you. And again, I'm completely open-minded. If you can handle it, I don't have a problem. But he was such a flake, and it actually created in me a resentment that propelled me forward. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you're
Yep.
confronted or boxed in with someone who is so annoying and so sort of in a flaky way in this particular instance that that you go through these phases of like, fuck, why am I stuck with this idiot? And then you go like, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. So in his case, we had a so-called development deal, which they handed out in the 90s, in the early 90s when the music industry still had money. Well, they still do, but they were we got money for writing songs and we recorded them, and a lot of them were never released, but we were paid for writing them and recording them. And um, we lived in a house that had a really cool recording studio in the basement, and he would just sleep till like 3 o'clock, totally stoned. And I said, I'm not gonna. The first couple weeks, I waited for him, and then I said, you know what, f you, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna record myself, and that's what I mean. So you know, I'm thankful for being forced into taking the baton and moving forward because I am a team player. And one thing that I realized is that I do sometimes know I have a gut feeling and intuition that I know better what's good, and I don't do it because I'm so dedicated to the team, right? And then I think everybody of us can feel like that. And then you feel like, oh, there's this alpha guy, and okay, I'm gonna work with him. And then you intuitively know it's not the right thing what he or she is doing, but you're not. It's not often not always timidity or fear that you're not taking the reins. It's just like, okay, this is the deal and that's fine. But then after a while you go like, what the hell is going on? Who is driving the bus here? And then you just push the guy aside, the stone guy who's sleeping at the wheel, and then you say, I'm gonna drive the bus and you sleep in the back. No, is that
I'm not
right?
sleeping at the wheel. Oh, you were talking about somebody
I'm
else.
not talking about you. This is
I'm
very, very
sorry.
broad metaphor for everything.
I see. I understand. You know what though? I had a situation that was somewhat similar, but
Hmm.
kind of the opposite needed to happen. I
Ah,
needed to change, right?
yeah, that happens too. Yep, yep,
I
yep.
had I had two guys for a writing partner. We were actually kind of a comedy team, right? We hung out all the time together. But this one guy, and it was one of those things, when you lock eyes with someone and that person is going to share a piece of your life.
Hmm.
Not you don't know how long or why, but man, that person is someone you've got to get to know. And that's how all three of us met. That was that kind of thing. So anyway, we would be writing for a show, some sketch comedy, and and Andy would show up when we're supposed to do kind of reads of
Oh, I
everything we've
remember
got.
you
We're in
told me.
draft and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Keep going.
and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he'd come with nothing, and then he would say something like, "Well,
The
I'm at
dog
my
ate my
sister's
homework.
place, and I walked away from the computer too long, and the password lock went into place, and I don't know the password, and she's flying all the way to China."
Oh boy.
So,
That's already a good
yeah,
story. Why didn't he put that in a
Oh my
sketch?
God.
I mean, the excuse
and
is as
then
good as a sketch.
and then we'd get to the next writer's review, and now we've got a director, and they kind of want to see what we're doing so we can start picking out actors and actresses for parts, and he shows up with nothing, and he says, "You're never going to believe this, but
My
I,
sister
I
came back.
I ran
Yeah.
out of paper, and I went to Walgreens, and they didn't have any paper at all, and so I just couldn't print anything out. It's all done, but I couldn't print it out. So afterwards, I go to Walgreens and they've got tons of paper, right? So I figure I've got this guy. He's not producing nothing, and I want, for some reason, I've got that pull to want him in my life, but this is driving me crazy. It's really making me, I'm conflicted all the time. So we get all the actors and actresses, and we're supposed to go through the first read where we assign roles, and we're all there except Andy. And the director has printed our sketches and printed out ones for everyone and everything, and no Andy. And suddenly Andy bounces through the door. He's got copies of sketches in his hands, all fully written, color coded, ready to go. And what I learned about Andy is he was a great writer.
Hmm.
He didn't need drafts. He just didn't need it. And so he would bring it in at the end, and his work would go through as written.
Wow.
But it was a real hard adjustment for me to, because I'm so anal retentive, man. You tell me to have a sketch ready for a draft review,
Hmm.
I have it done and ready, even if it stinks.
Hmm.
So would he use what you guys brought to the table too, or was it
Oh
just
yeah,
all
I mean
his?
this.
Okay,
No, it was
okay.
always a
So
compilation.
he would just listen and and then he would. Okay.
Right. He would just put them all out there, and then the director, of course, had to have them read. Right, they had to go through a read of them because we'd never seen them before.
Wow.
There was no way to kind of X them out. So he had these 3 sketches, and they were great. They were wonderful.
That's
But
great.
is your analysis of this now that he just felt he needed to um, he knew that he was able to deliver, and he felt like you guys are so married to this process, and he kind of doesn't need the process, and he didn't want to make you guys feel bad about the
I'm sure he
process.
has his own process, right? One of the
Hmm.
things I'm learning
But
as
in a
I
way,
meet
it's
more
cool
and more
because he.
writers
Hmm.
is process varies so dramatically,
Hmm.
and he was not going to conform to this regimented. He was just working on his stuff, and he had it all by the actual real deadline.
Wow.
But the cool thing
You know,
really is this is an amazing story because he did not. He could have said, of course, obviously, he could have said, you guys and your bullshit process. That's like, what kind of amateurs are you that you need this, right? And he didn't.
yeah. But he didn't. He did he took the fall every time. He showed up to every one of those draft meetings with nothing.
With an crazy
With these
excuse.
yes, with these great stories. One day he lost his laptop. He left it in the taxi, and so they were tracking it down. So he had to leave his phone on because they could find his laptop at any moment. And he
Oh,
said he was
Was it all an
lucky.
act, do you think?
I don't know. I
he
don't
was.
know. But it doesn't matter
Oh my
what
God.
what.
Oh my God, Shyla, was his last name Kaufman?
No, I
No,
think it was Garcia. I think it was
no,
Garcia.
no, no,
Was it
no,
Robert Garfield?
no, no.
Oh my God,
Callback.
that is so funny.
DG's doing a callback, which is awesome.
Not
Uh,
so
DG,
bad.
music club, an event posts live an hour before it starts, so it's not actually live
I'm gonna
yet.
complain. I'm gonna complain to Sansar about that.
Okay,
Okay, you do that. Write a
you
feature
do that.
request, and
Yes.
we're gonna wrap up this hour because, folks, I gotta go, and I'll see you at Music Club. And
Thank you, Drax, for being here. Thank you,
thank you,
Solas,
Shyla,
Thank
DG.
you. Thank you.
Shyla
Who
Thank
for
you.
else
This
have we
was
got
hosting.
here?
fun.
FCAT was here,
I'm gonna
and
post a link here in the chat. This is a Second Life 16th birthday video. Second Life 16th
Hmm.
birthday is live I think they're live
Did you just
tomorrow.
say 60th?
Is it start tomorrow?
It starts tomorrow.
16
Wow.
DG.
DG, watch the video and in comments ask them if it's
Oh
their
wow.
60th. Okay? No,
I know it's not.
no, it's not. Of course, it's
Nice.
not.
All right,
Are
thanks
we doing a
everyone.
hop there this
Yes,
Saturday?
not this Saturday, but next one we're
Okay, the
gonna do
next
like
one.
last year's.
Okay.
Gonna be so funny. We're gonna do, and people can watch in Sansar, and we're just streaming into
Okay.
Sansar, but we're gonna
Perfect.
be
I'll
in
try to make that one for sure.
awesome.
I wanna
It's
make
gonna be
a
depressing
hop.
because this is in Second Life.
Yeah. Well, then
No,
you come as
it's okay.
as a depressed person. Why not?
Yeah.
We'll cheer you up. We'll cheer you up. I'll get.
Well,
It's a
let me
lot of
say,
fun, DG.
the only real depressing part about it is wherever you go in Second Life, it performs pretty bad.
Hmm. Let's do an
Uh,
experiment, DG.
Yeah,
Let's do
let's.
an experiment. You
unless you,
come, you come, and I'm gonna take it as my challenge to show you that there are other things we can focus on, and then it's like a meditative
I know
experience.
that. I already know that.
I know how frustrating it sometimes can be, but you know what, DG? We cheat ourselves out of a good time
It's
if
Yeah,
not. It's
if we
not as
yeah.
bad.
focus.
Okay, this isn't as bad as like going on Second Life and getting one frame a second.
Mm. Okay, I know I can't convince you. I'm gonna cut
Hey,
the stream. Yes,
I was going to say, can I do a plug?
yes, yes. Big
Yeah,
plug.
before we
Okay.
cut the
Well,
stream.
besides Music Club in an hour, on Friday, starting at 3 o'clock, four creators over three experience have pulled together a summer solstice
A
celebration.
Awesome.
summer
And it's going to
solar
start at
celebration.
summer solstice, and it's going to start at one experience, and we go to another, then we end at another. And they've all been working hard to make them spectacular.
Awesome. Oh my God.
Awesome.
I
So
hope this is
at
not in
3
Second
o'clock.
Life.
No, this is Sansar starting at 3 on Friday, the summer
Ebby, I'm
solstice.
so sorry. I don't say these things, Ebby. I love you.
Yeah. Oops, Ebbe is on the phone. Wait, where's the
Oh,
phone? Is he
no.
calling again? Wait a minute. Oh God, good thing he's not calling. I thought for a second that he was
When he
gonna.
hears his name, Ebe, Ebe, Ebe.
Yeah, yeah, that's when he usually calls. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's really kind of bizarre when he hears his.
Yep, there
Oops,
you
there
go.
he is. Oops, he changed his ringtone. How did he do that? Okay, this joke is getting old. Um,
What's scary is some people think he thinks they believe it and think he's
yeah,
really calling you.
yeah, yeah. That's. We should do
It's
some.
actually fun.
He
He
doesn't
probably
really
has.
call you?
I believe that.
No, what will be
You need
very
to
fun if I can convince
record
Ebbe
him.
exactly
Yeah.
just to record a whole bunch of things that I can play off like with a little trigger thing,
Do it.
like question, like answers like Drax, I told you not to do that, or something like that, and then we just
Yes.
Yes,
fire it
yes,
off.
yes, yes. Do it. He'll do it. I bet I
And,
bet
and,
he
and
would do it.
it would be Drax. I told you not to do this. No, Drax.
Yeah.
Yes, Drax.
Talk to his son, and maybe he can convince
Drax, we talked about this. Oh, do it. He'll do it.
And then he says, Solus, I told you not to have Drax play with the passwords. Oops!
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Again, sorry.
He has a son, DJ?
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
didn't
God.
know that?
Of course
He
I
works
did.
for Linden.
I know everything, DJ. I'm omniscient. I'm an omniscient being. I saw his son in a Lamborghini once.
I
Maybe he has more kids than one. I mean, we just,
Okay, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna cut the stream. I'll
I
see you at
gotta
Music
go
Club.
too.